Hello, I'm now live. Bumblebee a little more prominently here. I got Bumblebee right there. Hopefully everyone can see Bumblebee. All right, how's everyone doing today? Home, planning some big event on television the next couple weeks, and some a new season of syndicated programming I'm working on over the phone and through the internet, and I'll be going to Los Angeles in a couple of days to wrap production. Other than that, just doing some work, more routine stuff out here today. Hope everyone is having a good day. Um, so if we get anyone joining us, we'll open it up for questions, and I might even answer some of the Q&A questions. Um, so without any further ado, hope everyone's having a good day, and let's now talk about one of my favorite movies of all time, Kiss of Death. Now, I saw it in theaters at 13, meaning that my sister was 15. So we went and saw this movie. Now, doing the math, I'm not really too sure. I don't know. I guess she had a license. I don't know. I think at 15. I don't know. So I'm thinking it says 1994 on the back of this, and I said it in the description. I think there's a somewhat of a likelihood that it's 1995. I think there's a somewhat of a likelihood that it's 1995. In fact, it is. I'm gonna have to correct it in the video description. You know why? Because I started thinking my sister probably wasn't driving me around at 15. She was probably driving me around at 16. So that's how that works. So we was in California somewhere and had a couple hours, and our parents were busy doing something. My mother was busy doing something. So we went and saw this relatively sophisticated movie, Kiss of Death. I don't think I understood all of it, or I thought it was like, I don't know. I guess someone could say that if you just see it, oh, it's just a bunch of style. There's not really anything to it with these characters. But if you really analyze this movie, kind of study it, watch it a bunch, there's a lot going on in it. And you got Anthony Heald, who's probably the lowest named guy. Silence of the Lambs, Deep Rising. He does a very effective job in this film. Stanley Tucci does a very effective job in this film. Nicolas Cage steals the movie. Definitely was ignored for Best Supporting Actor this year. Not to win, but he at least should have been nominated. It's a disgrace to think that he wasn't. The movie was actually released in April of '95, I believe. So, with that being said, I can imagine that they were thinking this was going to be like an awards caliber movie. And maybe after Jade, or maybe Jade came later. I don't know. Maybe they just kind of said, "Hey, maybe we don't got something with David Caruso. We might as well just dump this movie." Barbet Schrader who made Single White Female and the prestige film Reversal of Fortune. So he directed Jeremy Irons to a Best Actor win. He gets a very, very intense performance out of David Caruso in this, quietly intense. Got Helen Hunt in this film. You got Samuel L. Jackson with a eye that's constantly watering due to something that happens in this film. And you got Ving Rhames in a very effective role, Michael Rappaport in a very effective role. When it comes right down to it, this has got one of the better casts in the 90s of actors that were working in that time. The performance by Catherine Erb, who she went on to some TV shows and stuff, but you might probably best know her from Teenage or the I don't know if she's an adult in that movie. Teenage daughter from What About Bob, the one that takes kind of a friendship to the Bill Murray character. Um, so anyway, this movie, Kiss of Death, it's based on an old film, and I've seen the old film, and I feel that this film is better. But some people would say that that's heresy. I'd say it's just accurate. One reason I really love this movie is the production design. Mel Bourne, one of the greatest production designers to ever live. May he rest in peace. It was an honor to ever have any discussions with him about the great work that he's done and that what it means to us about movies. He did the production design for No Way Out, I believe. Did the production design for Cocktail. Did the production design for Kiss of Death, and among many other films. Just to name a few. I mean, he's one of the greatest production designers to ever live. God bless him. Really effective editing by Lee Percy. The cinematography, I'm sure you'll enjoy. There's definitely some things intentionally left out of some shots or some really cool effects done with the camera in it. Luciano Tovoli, very very impressive work. Co-producer Richard Price, a great writer, and he also writes the screenplay. In the '90s, Richard Price was pretty active. Blockers, the Spike Lee movie, among other films, but I consider this his greatest screenplay by a good stretch. Um, I think Samuel L. Jackson's got a real good performance in this. Now you might be saying, "I've never heard of this thriller. What are you talking about?" Well, first of all, I don't know how you knew it was a thriller, but it is a thriller. It's a film noir thriller, I guess you would say. The best crime movie since Scorsese's Goodfellas. That's what someone said in New York Magazine. I tend to agree with him, and I'd say in some ways, on the micro level, it's not about as much as what Goodfellas is, but I'd say it's almost, I mean, for my money, it's better. I love this film. I love this film. I want to get special features done for it. I want the commentary done for it. I want a lot done for it. Barbet Schroeder, after this, would go on to make Desperate Measures and I believe Murder by Numbers, which I own. Quietly underrated film. Um, Another really effective performance who plays Nicolas Cage's father in this is Philip Baker Hall. Downright steals every scene he's in. So it's a gritty thriller. David Caruso is an ex-con who's lured back into a life of crime for one last heist. Not exactly true. That sounds too generic. What happens is he's in Alcoholics Anonymous. He used to run like a car ring or be a car thief ring guy, and his cousin's still involved in that. His cousin lays a heavy guilt trip on him. He's not doing it for one last heist. He's doing it to get his cousin out of trouble. So what it should say is David Caruso is an ex-con who's cleaned up his life, and to save his cousin, he agrees to be a driver one night in the middle of the night because the dude comes to his door begging and pleading. So that would be a more accurate description of that. When a detective offers him his freedom in a return for turning on a gangster, he becomes a reluctant pawn caught between federal agents. Well, I guess that's kind of accurate, but kind of not. It's not really Samuel L. Jackson. He's the one that's kind of administering David Caruso. So I'll describe it in my own words, all right? You get to know the David Caruso character, and you get to the Helen Hunt character, and you get to know that they are reformed. They used to be partying a lot. There used to be this, there used to be that, and they got Helen Hunt's sister working for them as their babysitter. So one night, Michael Rappaport, who plays David Caruso's cousin, comes giving his guilt trip to David Caruso, saying that they're going to kill him if they don't get all these cars taken down to the trucks or whatever. So Michael Rappaport plays on his heartstrings and says, when your parents were all whatever, you could go stay at my house. You're more than a cousin to me. You never turned down a free meal from my family. Why don't you help me out? And David Caruso, even though he's on whatever probation or whatever, where he can't be associated with these kind of people, and where he'd rather just go to sleep and hang out with his daughter and take care of her and live a happy life. His cousin gives him this guilt trip. Now, not 10 minutes after he's hanging out with his cousin to go help bail him out of this situation, his cousin starts talking too much and says, "Oh yeah, we've been, back when you was doing it, we weren't even doing it like how we're doing it now, and all this, and I got money for this and that and that." And I always thought, like, yo, dude, shut the fuck up. You're the one asking dude homie for all his help, and then you're coming around saying how good things are. And David Caruso's like, "I don't care nothing about your shoes. I'm here to do this job and go home." Or really, what he should have said is, if you got all this money for all these dank shoes that you're talking about, why are you coming by to me asking me for help in the middle of the night? So that's that whole thing. So then obviously they're doing this thing where they got to drive the truck. One of them drivers they hired was too drunk, so they like throw him on the ground and start, Nicolas Cage basically throws him from the truck to the ground. I don't know if they used a stuntman or what, but I can't even tell if they cut. It looks basically like the actor takes a face plant into the floor, um, because of Nicolas Cage's anger. So David Caruso's got a heart. He tries to put the guy back into the and getting arrested, and the drunk dude starts shooting at the cops because you don't know what's going on. All these bullets go through David Caruso's hand, and some bullets go into the eye of Samuel Jackson, and he's a cop, so that's not a good situation. Michael Rappaport and the other dudes run off. David Caruso takes the rap, which is going to be like a 4-year stretch. Daughter's already 2 or 3, so they're trying to come to him to make a deal. He don't want to make a deal at first, but eventually he realizes something. It's a pretty big something. He realizes something about Michael Rappaport, his cousin, that he did him dirty, because obviously when David Caruso goes away to jail, it wrecks their life. And Helen Hunt, his wife, ends up having to work for Michael Rappaport. And then once that happens, Michael Rappaport seduces her. And then one day when he seduces her, she's waking up and she's all mad. And she left her kid at home, so she drive home. And very sadly, she's hit by a car. Now, in the original movie, she commits suicide. And in this one, she's hit by a truck. And she's so angry that she, basically got seduced by Michael Rappaport when she was drunk. And then when David Caruso goes to the funeral, he goes to ask Michael Rappaport what she was doing with you, and he gets to piece together that obviously Michael Rappaport seduced his wife, and he turns on him. He's going to realize he's going to figure out a way to marginalize Michael Rappaport. So he starts sharing information about old heists, and pins it on Michael Rappaport that he's the one actually, squealing and telling all the information about the heists. So then basically, he's doing that just so he can see his daughter. And then when he gets out of jail, he starts getting close to Nicolas Cage. And Nicolas Cage, man, he plays a pretty unique character. I'll just kind of leave it at that. And you can check it out for yourself. Really awesome character. Oh, just really interesting. The movie goes from there. It's basically been David Caruso being out of jail, still dealing with the various lawyers and people trying to get him to turn state's evidence. And it's about him and Helen Hunt's sister now taking care of the kid and how they start a relationship. And it's just a really good story, really good characters. You really care about them. A lot of these thrillers of the 90s or even Pulp Fiction type movies and stuff, you care about the characters, but you care about them more because of their dialogue, and you care about them because of this and that. Here, you care about them because they have heart, and you really care about them. And I don't know why the first time I saw it, I didn't really register with this. It's a really, really, really good and intense movie. And you really root against the villains in this piece. And the villains are, you don't really root against Nicolas Cage, but you do. You really do root against Stanley Tucci. And basically, their adversity is the villain. So it's a really interesting film. I really, really, really recommend Kiss of Death. It's got a 100 minutes, and I definitely think it came out in April of 1995. The more I think about it, I would almost say like April 7th, 1995, something like that. It says 1994. I'm going to correct it. And anyone out there, I hope to be live streaming again. Right now, this is about 11 p.m. Central Time. Hope to be live streaming again sometime tomorrow around 11 p.m. Central. Go ahead and send your questions in, and we'll get to them. I wanted to answer one question on the air here that I got, and we'll go from there. All right. Let me see if I have this. I wrote it down over here. Oh, okay. Yeah, the question is from Edwina. Huh. Okay. I don't really know. Okay, so it's an email. Edwina from Maryland. She asked me, am I familiar with the films of Neil LaBute? Oh, thank you for your question. Yes, Neil LaBute has made a variety of films. In the Company of Men with Aaron Eckhart and Stacey Edwards and another man in it. Um, other films called Your Friends and Neighbors, very dark movie. He also made a classic film that he directed, but he didn't write. And I find that to be his strength, his directing at times, because when he writes something, it becomes almost too dark. But this one called Nurse Betty with Renee Zellweger. So yeah, Edwina, I'm really familiar with those films. The first three I named, and then Lester with his other one, like The Wicker Man. I know people don't like that one, but I actually do like that one. So I like the original, and I like the changes that the Wicker Man makes. Even though I want to, enjoy that movie a little bit more, and then put it in context to the other Wicker Man. I don't think the other one's that bad. I don't think the Nicolas Cage Neil LaBute was that bad. I really don't. Obviously, the first one's great. So I'm glad we covered that. I definitely am familiar with him. I'm not familiar with what he's doing lately. I know he had a deal with Red Granite Pictures, which was the Ben Stiller production company, and I'm pretty sure that that's not going to be going on further. So we'll have to see where that pans out for him. But just wanted to make sure I got in touch with all y'all out there today. Hope you're having a great day. Something about I want to say Kiss of Death. I don't think we're gonna be getting a movie like this. I don't think we're gonna be getting a remake of this. I don't think we're gonna be getting anything further of this because Disney's basically bought Fox. I hope that home media stuff continues. I hope that one day they would put some good special features on this and all that, but based on the fact that we're 25 years from when this film was made, I don't think that's very likely. So I may have to produce some homemade features of it. Looking forward to talking to David Caruso. I have been arranging something to get in touch with him and interview him in July, so you can look forward to that. And other than that, check out the movie. Helen Hunt obviously doesn't have the biggest role in it, but she does really good with what she's given. The music's really good in it. Also, another person I forgot to mention that's in it is Hope Davis. So definitely check it out. Let me show you the bumblebee that I have here. Pretty cool, huh? All right then, everybody. I hope you had a good night. I gotta shut it down, and just talked about the Kiss of Death movie, and looking forward to maybe doing a commentary